Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe. I hope everyone out there is doing well. I'd like to thank you very much for joining me today because this is a very special video, and the reason why is because this is the first video in a new segment on my channel that I want to start doing. The name of the segment is Wade's Toy Sack. So I'd like to welcome you to episode 1 of Wade's Toy Sack. And what this whole segment is going to be, it's basically a way for me to review multiple figures in one video. The whole idea is that I'm going to review 5 different figures, and obviously, you know, each review isn't going to be like as in-depth as my usual reviews. They're basically just going to be quick overviews of random figures. And I'm going to use this whole Wade's Toy Sack thing as a way to review like repaints or just random figures that I buy, or maybe things that are a little bit older, just random stuff that I pick up. But the whole gimmick in this video is that it's always going to be a mystery. I'm never going to let you guys know what I'm going to review. There might be hints like in the background, like back there you might see like things that may be in future Wade's Toy Sack episodes, or you might just see things that I might be reviewing. So there's information back there, but for the most part, I'm gonna keep people blind, and hopefully you never know what's coming in these videos because it's gonna be random. There'll be a lot of crazy shit that I'll be reviewing in the Wade Toy Sack episodes that you'd probably never see on my channel. It's gonna be a mixed bag, a mixed sack of toys, if you will. But let's go ahead and get into it. And to kick off episode 1 of Wade's Toy Sack, we're going to take a look at a Marvel Legends figure. And what we have here is the Marvel Legends Quake from the Controller Build-A-Figure wave. And I was really excited when they announced this figure because I'm a big fan of Jonathan Hickman's Secret Warriors, and she was a big part of that book. She was a badass leader of the team. She was kind of the right hand to Nick Fury, and she's just dope. She's the daughter of Mr. Hyde. In case you didn't know, spoiler, I don't know. But yeah. That book was about a bunch of villains, kids getting together and becoming a team, similar to Runaways, but with a little bit more of like a spy, espionage kind of vibe to it. Of course, with Nick Fury involved, that's always going to be the case. But Quake was a standout character from that book, and I think that Hasbro did a good job with the figure. She does have a lot of the new parts that we've seen on recent female figures from Hasbro. Like she does have pinless knees, pinless elbows. The torso, I think, is mostly new. Maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. I can't really tell if the torso is new, but they did rework the upper torso to add details. Like she does have the zipper and then these white strap things around the shoulders. The lower torso might be new. Actually, it doesn't have a belly button, so maybe it's just like reworked from a previous Marvel Legends female torso. In any case, the figure feels new enough as a whole. So yeah, I'm excited that they put some new parts into this character because, you know, in the past Hasbro could get lazy with characters that are a little less known, you know. But I'm happy that they did what they could with this figure here. Obviously, they could have done a little bit more with the gauntlets or something. They do look a little plain. The sculpt is nice on them, but the paintwork is a little lacking. So that's one thing I think they could have done better. But aside from that, I think they did a great job with it. As far as the articulation goes, she does have like the standard Marvel Legends articulation that we've seen on female figures. But I will say, I am having fun posing this figure around, even though I do think that, you know, it's time for an update on the articulation setup on female figures from Hasbro. You know, some of the other lines have great articulation, like the G.I. Joe classified stuff and the Fortnite stuff, but as far as Marvel Legends go, it's definitely time for an upgrade. But let's see what we have going on here. She does have a ball hinge at the neck, so she can look way up, which is nice. She could look down, which is cool. And then she could look side to side. Got a little bit of tilt, but not a whole lot. For the torso, we do have a diaphragm cut. We get some nice movement out of it. Not a crazy amount, but, you know, enough to do some things. So I like it. Then you could also twist from right there. For the arm, she does have ball joints at the shoulders, so they do go all the way around. Come up to the side to about right there. Not too bad. Upper bicep swivel. Double jointed elbow. Boom. That gets really good range. A swivel at the wrist, a hinge at the wrist. For the legs, she could kick up to about right there, which is, could be better. Only goes back to right there. She could kick to the side a really good amount, though. That'll work. Then she has upper thigh swivel, double jointed knee at the foot. You could go forward to there, come up to there, and she has rocking ankles. There's no swivel or anything at the lower leg. But yeah, you know, kind of limited in the articulation department, but you could definitely get her into some cool poses. I'm actually having a lot of fun playing around with this figure. I've kept it nearby since I've opened it, mostly because I'm a fan of the character. I'm just like happy that we have something from Secret Warriors, but I was surprised how much fun I was having playing with this figure. Even though I'm very familiar with the articulation and there's nothing innovative or anything like that, it's still a fun figure to pose around and mess with. And then as far as accessories go, she does come with the Build-A-Figure piece. She comes with the left arm of the controller, and I'll grab that in just a second. Let me just make sure she's situated. But yeah, so we have the left arm of the controller, and then this does have 2 sets of hands, so that's kind of cool. And then not only does she come with the Build-A-Figure piece, she also has like a whole nother set of parts that you could swap out and turn Quake into Maria Hill. And I think that's awesome. You basically get 2 characters in one, or you could even just like pop on different female figureheads onto this body, and then you could have like random shield agents. So that's pretty cool. There's a lot of different uses in this figure. You could buy it just for Quake, or you could buy it for an army builder, or you could buy it for Maria Hill, whatever. There's a bunch of different things that this figure can do for you. But for me, it's all about Quake. I do like the option to turn her into Maria Hill, but I'm most excited about this character. And then for one quick size comparison, here we have Quake alongside her dad, and that's the Marvel Legends Hyde Build-A-Figure. On the opposite side, we have the Marvel Legends Nick Fury. We definitely need a new Nick Fury. This one's okay, but it's on the Bucky Cap body, so, you know, it's very outdated. But I would love to see Hasbro do a new Nick Fury, maybe in some kind of different suit. Just make something more unique for him because he's such a badass character. He deserves a better figure than just a repaint or something that could be repurposed for a army builder or whatever. They should give us a unique Nick Fury to go along with Quake. As far as the sculpting work goes, there's not a whole lot going on, but they did a nice job with the head sculpt. I do think it looks like the character. It looks very clean and very well done. I do wish that the hair had a little bit of shading, but aside from that, I think it's a great looking head sculpt. And I do like that they put some details like on the upper torso and stuff just to kind of make it not feel like just a simple repaint. And then obviously we have like the added on pieces like the belt, which I glued down right away because it just kind of made me like the figure more without the belt sliding around. And then these things are actually loose, these things on her legs, but they're on there tight enough to where they're not moving around, but they are a separate piece, and I didn't know that at first, so that's pretty dope. It always sucks when a figure has like all these straps, but then they're just kind of flopping around and stuff, you know? So I'm happy that they were tight enough on her that they weren't like annoying or anything. So yeah, I'm really happy with this figure. Even though there's not a whole lot to it, I think it does a good job for the character, and I just enjoy it, man. It's one of those figures. It kind of reminds me of Tigra from last year. I really love that figure, even though there's not a whole lot to it. Just something about it just made me happy, and that's kind of where I'm at with Quake. You know, I like the character, and I think the figure does a good job of representing the character. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. Next figure out of the toy sack, we have the Star Wars Black Series New Republic Security Droid, and I'm a big fan of droids like this, the ones that have like arms and legs that kind of operate like humans, as opposed to ones that like roll around or that look like trash cans. Obviously R2-D2 is an OG and he's one of the greatest and all that kind of stuff, but I like droids like this because not only do they work as Star Wars characters, but you could just kind of turn them into other kind of things, just random robots or whatever. But yeah, this is a great looking figure. It does have a really nice amount of detail, especially right here in the stomach, or the stomach area, whatever you want to call it. There's like wires and things going up the side, and then that middle piece looks kind of like something that would be able to like move around and stuff. So it does look really good. It does have mostly like a gray color, but there is some like metallic type of color in there as well, like in the chest and the lower torso and then in the hips. And yeah, I like this one a lot because it reminds me of K2SO, and that's my favorite droid in Star Wars. That's right, I don't give a fuck. That's my favorite one, and this figure reminds me of that. So that's another reason why I like this guy so much. But yeah, they did good with it. And as far as articulation goes, he does have movement at the lower neck and at the upper neck, but it doesn't get a whole lot of movement. It's pretty decent, but not a whole lot. He can look side to side, and then we do get some tilt for some attitude, which is always fun to get from a droid. And then he does have a pretty nice like diaphragm cut. Yeah, so that's pretty good. And you could also swivel there. But yeah, that has some pretty good movement. See, it doesn't crunch forward a whole lot. I kind of feel like maybe I could pop this off and increase it a little bit. Maybe if I get an extra one or something. But yeah, the torso's pretty decent. And then for the arms, he does have like butterfly joints. What? That's crazy. That's cool. Yeah, I guess they've been putting that in most of their newly sculpted Star Wars figures. So I'm happy to see that he has it. And then his arm can go all the way around. It could come up only to about right there because he does have this shoulder pad. And then there's no like upper bicep swivel or anything, but it does swivel at the elbow, and then the elbow is a single joint that bends to like right there. And then he does have a swivel at the wrist and then a hinge. For the legs, he's got some crazy legs. Again, his hips really remind me of K2SO. But he's able to kick up a pretty good amount. There we go. Could go back to about right there. And it can't really kick to the side. It could only go to the side to about right there. And then he does have like upper thigh swivel, I guess you could call it. Right in here. Oh yeah, I like the way they did that. That's cool. Kind of reminds me of like a NECA figure or a Mafex figure or something, so that's nice. And then he does have a single jointed knee and then a swivel right there. No swivel at the lower foot, but his foot can come forward to there, come up to right there. Then he does have rocking ankles. So yeah, a pretty decent amount of articulation on this guy. And this is another figure that I've just kind of kept around because I've enjoyed just picking him up and like playing with it. It's a pretty dope figure. As far as accessories go, he doesn't come with too much. All he does have is his gun. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a good looking gun. And he looks cool holding it. So yeah, I think this is a cool figure. And I think he's going to look great alongside other droids that are similar to him. You know, that kind of have like... I keep wanting to say human, but you know what I mean. Like, they're constructed like humans. They have arms, and legs, torsos, and a head. There's a couple of droids like that. So he'll look cool along with them. Maybe have like a group of bounty hunter droids. That'd be cool. And for some size comparisons, here we have the security droid alongside the Black Series Mando and the SH Figure Arts Mando version 2. And then here we have him alongside the Black Series K2SO, aka the GOAT. On the opposite side, we have the Black Series Q90. And these are the type of droids that I like. I think they look very cool, and they have more options than your standard Star Wars droid. You could do other things with them aside from just have them in your Star Wars collection, because they kind of just work as random robots, you know? But yeah, man, this is a great looking figure. Well sculpted, pretty good articulation, a cool accessory, and just an overall cool looking figure that I'm happy to have. Black Series... it's kind of been hit or miss, you know. They've made some questionable decisions. I feel like they're putting all their energy into the vintage collection because they're really killing it over there. And with Black Series, they're just doing things that kind of make you scratch your head like, what the hell's going on? But every now and then they come out with a really dope figure, and that's kind of where I'd put this guy. I'd put him in the really dope category for Black Series. I think they did a good job with it. And next out of the toy sack, we have the Hasbro Fortnite Victory Royale Series Metal Mouth. And check this guy out. I really like the design of him. As you can see, he does have like a soldier slash mercenary kind of vibe. And I think he's dope, man. I especially like the metal helmet with the pink eyes. It kind of has a creepy type of vibe to it. And then on the torso, we do have an overlay that has some pouches and some more like armorized stuff. And then he does have like a scarf thing around his neck too, it looks like. So that's cool. And then as you can see, we do have like the gray and white fatigues going. Around the waist, we have like a belt with some straps and a holster. And I was kind of surprised by how much articulation we could get out of the hips because they're all covered. I mean, it is kind of limited, but it's a little bit more than I was expecting, so that's cool. But yeah, I think this is a great looking figure. And I think something like this could work really well for like, you know, just like goons or just, you know, someone for your G.I. Joes or Marvel Legends to beat up on. You know, you could have like 2 or 3 of these and it could be like a little strike force to go against Wolverine or something. Characters like this have a lot of potential to integrate very well into like other collections, and you know, they could be used for photos and stuff like that. So yeah, he does have like a general kind of vibe that could be used for different things, but then the metal head kind of gives him a uniqueness as well. So this is a pretty cool figure, and I feel like it has a lot of uses. And as for accessories, he does come with these damn things, whatever they are. It looks like he could bash someone up pretty good with these. And then he does come with this long-ass rifle. Look at this thing. It's ridiculous. And he does look pretty awesome holding it. Check it out. Yeah, so even though this gun is big and kind of cartoonish, he looks really dope holding it. And then not only does he have this big-ass sniper rifle, he also has like a hidden accessory. Here in the holster, there's a gun that's in there already. And it is removable, and he has no problem holding this whatsoever. So you have a couple of different weapon options. There we go. Yeah, so pretty good stuff for the accessories. And then for the articulation, he does have decent articulation, but there are a few things that kind of hinder what we have going on. Starting off at the head, he is able to move his head side to side, get a little bit of tilt, but he can't really look up too much, and he can't really look down because of all the stuff that he has around his neck. So it's pretty limited there. And then for the torso, he does have an ab crunch, and it goes forward a decent amount, especially considering that it's all covered, but it's still hindered. And then at the waist, he does have a ball joint, so you could use like the ball joint and the ab crunch to get some movement out of it. And again, it's a pretty good amount considering that he does have a vest covering pretty much the whole torso. It still gets some okay movement. And then he does swivel at the waist, and then you could kind of move side to side. So we have some decent movement there. And then at the arms, he does have butterfly joints, but you don't get a whole lot of movement. But his arms can go all the way around. You could bring them up to about right there. And then he does have upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that get a pretty good bend. Look at that. Let's get this backpack out here. Boom. Oh, he does have a backpack. I think I might have forgot to mention that before, but that looks pretty good too. So yeah, the elbows get some pretty good range. And then on the trigger finger hand, he does have a vertical hinge and a swivel. And then on this side, he just has like the regular in and out hinge and then a swivel as well. And then for the legs, I was pretty impressed because the hips are covered up by all this stuff, but he still gets some movement. Not a whole lot, but more than I was expecting. So he could kick to about right there. And then he could kick to the side a pretty decent amount, actually. Look at that. So yeah, pretty good stuff there. And then he does have upper thigh swivel. Then he does have a double jointed knee, which gets a pretty good bend. He has a lower leg swivel, and then his feet could go forward to right there. And they only come up to right there because the shoe collides with the shin armor. And then he does have rocking ankles. And then for some quick size comparisons, here we have Metal Mouth alongside the G.I. Joe classified Cobra Trooper and the G.I. Joe classified Snake Eyes. And then here we have him alongside the Hasbro Victory Royale series, the Foundation, I think this dude's name is. And then over here we have the Jazzwares Fortnite Enforcer. So yeah, I think this is a pretty cool figure. I do like the design quite a bit, and I think the accessories he came with are pretty cool. Articulation is okay, but it is hindered by all the stuff that he has going on. But yeah, if you want a figure that you could use as like a goon to go against your Marvel Legends or G.I. Joes or Action Force or whatever, I think this guy's a pretty good option. Yeah, if this is something you're into, I suggest checking him out. And then next up, we have something that I know very little about. What this is a JoyToy Warhammer 4000 Blood Angel Space Marine. I think that's what this thing is called. And I know nothing about Warhammer. My only exposure to Warhammer is when I used to customize. I would go into Games Workshop and I would buy the Citadel paints from there. And I would always see like people playing the Warhammer games or painting their miniatures. And I've always had a lot of respect for those guys because they would do an incredible job on those little figures. They would do some amazing work painting those figures, especially at that scale. But really, that's my only exposure to Warhammer. But the reason why I picked up this figure is because recently I've been getting into like 1/18th scale figures. I've been going back and buying Marvel Universe figures. I've been buying some Star Wars vintage collection, Acid Rain, just whatever looks cool in 1/18th scale. I've been interested. And around that time, Adam, aka Playing With Myself, Cincy Nerd, and D Amazing were all going crazy about these JoyToy Warhammer figures. So I decided to pick one up, and I'm glad I did. So I got this guy from Amazon for like 40 bucks, and I like the figure quite a bit, but it's not something that like I feel that I have to go buy a million of these things now. I kind of want to get a blue one. If they ever do a purple one or a green one, I would definitely be interested in those. But yeah, I think it's a really great figure, and to have some other colors would be cool. But, you know, having the one or getting maybe one or two more is enough for me. I don't need 50 of these things. But yeah, let's go ahead and check it out. As far as the design goes, I think the design of the Space Marines is pretty it's pretty interesting, you know, because they look like big villainous characters. I always thought these guys were the bad guys, but it turns out I think that they're the good guys of the whole situation. And the bad guys are actually a lot more crazy and monstrous and just intimidating. But these Space Marines, they look badass, you know. They don't look like pushovers whatsoever. They look pretty damn willing to do whatever it takes to win the battle here. But I love the design of this guy. We have the skull on the chest with these wings that look really crazy. And then we have like these pieces of armor with like a big like drop of blood that looks really crazy. On this side we have a, I guess you could say it's a drop of blood, but it's yellow. I don't know. Over here we have a drop of blood with like some wings. And yeah, this is a really cool design. And you know what I like about this figure from like an action figure perspective? He does have all these things around the waist, and they all pop off. So you could pop them off and like move different pieces to different spots. Let's go ahead and move this one from the side to the front. You have like all these little modular pieces. You kind of change up the look a little bit. So yeah, that's dope. And yeah, look at all the, oh shit. Oh, the knife sheath is on one of those little ball joints as well, so you could pop that off and maybe stick that in the front if you need to. Yeah, see, so that's pretty cool, being able to change things up like that. Let's see what's up with this knife. Boom, look at that. Yeah, but this is a really dope figure, a super cool design, very well sculpted, some really nice paintwork, especially for the scale. They really go all out with the details and stuff, man. They do a great job with these figures. Aside from those modular pieces, he does come with some pretty decent accessories. As you can see, he does have this gun right here, which is nice. And then he does have this big ass sword. This thing reminds me of Gears of War, even though I think the Gears of War saws were like on their guns. But yeah, look at that. That looks cool. And then he also has one more like big crazy gun. And he does come with like, I think, yeah, 3 sets of hands, so that's cool too. You got like a bunch of different gripping hands for the different weapons, and then you have some open hands and stuff. And the hands are pretty easy to swap out, even though at first they seem like it's gonna be a tight fit, but you could get it on there. So there we go. Yeah, look at that gun. That reminds me of Gears of War too. I wonder if Gears of War took a lot of inspiration from Warhammer, because Warhammer's been around for forever, it seems like. But yeah, he comes with some really cool weapons. I like this big ass gun. That's really dope. And look at the detail on it too. There's like different color like pieces, you know. There's some black pieces right in here, some gunmetal. And this gun is really dope too. Check out the detail on there. I like that we have different colors. There's some like grayish silver, there's black, and then down here we have some gold for like the ammunition cartridge or whatever. So that's dope. And taking a look at the saw thing. Again, different colors, making it look interesting. Very nice. Let's go ahead and get his weapons out of here for a second so we could see the articulation. And the articulation is very impressive for such a small figure too. Starting off at the head, it does go side to side. And it looks like it's on a ball joint. Or maybe like the lower neck is on a ball joint, so we get some movement like that. Can't expect too much out of this area. But we do get some side to side. Little bit of tilt, so yeah, some good stuff there. And then for the torso, not too much going on because, you know, he's got this big old armored chest. Oh, look at that. Oh, I thought this was a gun holster, but it's not. It's okay. It's still cool. Yeah, so the torso goes only forward to about right there. I wish that he got a little bit more, but, you know, it's understandable. And we do have a swivel at the diaphragm, and I feel like there's something going on at the waist too, but it's kind of hard to tell because he does have the belt kind of hindering things. And then for the arms, I was really impressed by because he has these shoulders that pop out. So you could get his arms in front of him a pretty decent amount. But then they kind of get like, I want to say like unstable. They don't feel like they're going to pop out or anything, but they just kind of get a little wobbly when they're extended out. But the amount of articulation it gives you is pretty impressive. Look at that. Damn. That's really good. And then, of course, it does go all the way around. Yeah, there we go. Let's see what else we got going on. How's the shoulder joint? Or this must be pegged on right in the center there. That's cool, but it pretty much stays out of the way. Could get his arm up a decent amount. Yeah, only to about right there. But he's got a big ass shoulder pad, so even that seems pretty impressive. Then he does have, yeah, upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, which is really cool on such a small scale. Look at that. Bam, there we go. He does have a little ball joint at the wrist, so the hand can swivel, and then the hand also just kind of rocks around on that ball joint, so that's nice. And then for the legs, what do we got going on here? He could kick out to the side to about right there. Kick forward to right there. Damn, okay, that's pretty good. Go back to about right there. He has, does he have an upper, he does have an upper thigh swivel. And the hip also swivels on the ball joint that's inside the hips there. So that's pretty good. Yeah, so you get some good swivel out of the leg. And then he does have double jointed knees. Bam, look at that. Yeah, that's pretty good. That'll work. Then at the foot, what do we have? Looks like we have a little ball joint similar to the wrist. So it goes forward up there. I mean, to right there, up to right there. Get some rocking action. And then we have a little toe joint. There we go. So yeah, articulation is pretty impressive, especially considering all the armor and stuff. And then for some size comparisons, here we have the Space Marine alongside the Marvel Universe Cable. Still love that figure after all these years. That thing is amazing. On the opposite side, we have the Star Wars Vintage Collection, Death Watch Mandalorian. And then next up, here we have him alongside one of the McFarlane Toys Warhammer Space Marines. And as you can see, that figure is pretty cool and everything, but he's nowhere near as good as the JoyToy version. And then on the opposite side, we have one of the McFarlane Toys Warhammer 4000 Gene Stealers, and this figure is freaking awesome. I highly recommend picking up this one. You could usually find it for pretty cheap on Amazon. It's beautifully sculpted, it's got a bunch of articulation, and it's just creepy as hell. It's one of the creepiest figures that I own, and I think it's one of McFarlane Toys' best figures. He killed it on that one. In fact, this figure might have to make an appearance in a WADES Toy Sack episode so I could talk about it a little bit more because this thing is amazing. And because this thing is just like a big monster, he could kind of work with the JoyToy stuff. I've seen people take pictures of these Gene Stealers with the JoyToy stuff, and it looks amazing. Shout out to my boy Pablo on Instagram. He does that all the time. He's taking some great pictures of these Gene Stealers with these JoyToy Space Marines. It makes them kind of look a little bit more intimidating because they're so much bigger than the JoyToy figures. So that's kind of cool. Like I said, I think this is a really cool figure. And, you know, if you're a fan of Warhammer, then these are like a must-have for sure. I'm not connected enough to Warhammer to feel like I need to go all in with this line. Like I said, I would like to get a few more just because they look cool. But, you know, if you're a fan of Warhammer, I would suggest jumping on these, man, because these are really dope. It's cool that Warhammer fans have some options because there's also the McFarlane stuff, and the McFarlane stuff is actually pretty good. I think McFarlane actually does his best work on those Warhammer figures. He's killing it. But if you want something that's just like a step up above from those, I would suggest checking these out. And for the final figure out of the toy sack, we have the Marvel Legends Spider-Man Retro Card Rhino. And this figure is basically just a re-release of the Build-A-Figure that Hasbro put out a few years back. But this one is a little different. He doesn't have like the shoulder pads, and then he doesn't have like the weird, like, I want to say kind of masked Rhino head. I don't know what the hell that was. I think that was based on a more modern comic book look for the character, but I prefer this more classic look. So I'm really happy that they re-released them because I used to have the Build-A-Figure, but I ended up selling it because I have the Marvel Select one, and I was like, I just want a classic Rhino, so I sold the Build-A-Figure, and the Marvel Select one has been my go-to Rhino. And I like that figure a lot, but it's not very articulated. This Marvel Legends one is way more articulated, more fun to play with, and a lot more dynamic. You could get him into a bunch of great poses, and he looks cool, man. I think that Hasbro did a great job with this. This body's pretty good too. I believe it's the same body that Hasbro used for Abomination at one point. I think it works pretty well for Rhino. It does have like a bunch of texture and cracks and all kinds of like, you know, like imperfections and just things going on to give it like that stone look. And yeah, I think this is a great looking figure. And then for accessories, we did get some cool stuff, including 2 different heads. This is the first one here. As you could see, he looks very serious, mean, ready to whoop Spider-Man's ass, and I think this is a great looking head sculpt. The second head is a little bit more angry. This time around, we see some teeth, and he looks like he's in the middle of charging right here. So this is a really dope looking head sculpt as well. And then he does come with 2 different sets of hands. We have a pair of fists, and then we have a set of open hands. So a pretty good amount of accessories for such a big character. And you know, at first, I wasn't like in a rush to go buy this figure or anything, because like I said before, I'm pretty happy with my Marvel Select Rhino, but then GameStop had this guy on sale for like 31 bucks or something. So at that point, I was like, man, that's definitely worth it. So I jumped on it, and I'm really glad I did, because this is a great figure. Let's go ahead and talk about the articulation real quick. Starting off at the head, you can move it side to side, which is nice. Then it does have a really nice up and down hinge. It could go up to about right there, which is pretty good. And then it could go down to right there. He does have a ab crunch It only goes forward to right there though, so that's not a whole lot. And it doesn't really go back at all. So that's kind of weird. Then he does have a waist swivel at the arms. He does have ball jointed shoulders that do go all the way around. And then they come out to the side, only to about right there. He has upper bicep swivel. A single jointed elbow, which only gets about 90. There we go. And then he does have a swivel at the wrist and a hinge. For the legs, his legs could kick out to the side to about right there. They could kick forward to right there. They go back to about right there. And then he does have upper thigh swivel, which is nice. And then he does have a single jointed knee that bends to about right there. At the foot, it could go up to here, come down to here, and then he has rocking ankles. So yeah, not a whole lot of articulation, but he can definitely achieve like one of the main poses you'd want for Rhino, which is like a running pose. So there you go. I really like the way they did the head, because it gets a lot of upward movement. Yeah, so that's pretty dope. I mean, basically, that's like the main pose that you would want for Rhino. And he could achieve it, so that's cool. Like, he doesn't have the most articulation ever, but he has enough to do what you'd want with the character, you know? And then now for some size comparisons, here we have the Marvel Legends Rhino alongside the Marvel Select Rhino and the Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows Spider-Man. And then next up we have Rhino alongside the Marvel Legends Retro Black Suit Spider-Man. Just in case you want to do some of those like scenes from the animated series, you could definitely make that happen. On the opposite side we have the Marvel Legends Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man. And you know, usually I'm pretty against them just re-releasing old figures, but I'm glad they re-released Rhino because I got rid of my Build-A-Figure, and I did kind of regret it, even though I am happy with the Marvel Select one. And then at the same time, they gave it a more classic look, which is, I think, what most people preferred with that first Rhino. I think a lot of us would have taken a classic Rhino over that other version. And he was on sale, so there was a bunch of things that kind of led to me getting this. But yeah, I'm happy to have it in my collection. Alrighty, so that concludes episode 1 of Wade's Toy Sack. I really hope that you guys had a good time taking a look at these figures. Be sure to let me know in the comments what you think about this format. I think this could be a lot of fun if it gains some momentum and, you know, the whole surprise factor is something that people like look forward to. I think that would be really cool, and I know that I would enjoy it. It'd be something different than just regular reviews, and I know that it was a pretty quick and dirty look at each one of these figures. I didn't go into that much detail, but that's not really what this is about, you know. This is like just having a quick little general discussion about these random figures that I pick up and just kind of giving you my thoughts and just talking about them a little bit more freely without having to go into crazy detail about every single thing on these figures, you know. That's what these videos are about. So yeah, please let me know what you thought about this, and also feel free to leave some suggestions in the comments for figures that you guys would like to see in a Wade's Toy Sack episode. You know, maybe it's something that I already have, even if it's something older, like from a few years ago or earlier in the year, or just something that you wanted to hear my thoughts about that I just never got around to. Leave that in the comments. I'll definitely be taking a look at those and do my best to, you know, include things that I see frequently. Like if I see a bunch of comments for a particular figure, if I have it, I'll get it into an episode, or I'll see about tracking it down or whatever, you know? So yeah, leave that in the comments below. I look forward to seeing what you guys say. And also, one more last thing, I'm gonna leave some Amazon affiliate links in the description below for some of the figures that I talk about in these episodes. That way, if you guys are interested in finding some of these figures, hopefully that can help you out. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining me on this. I really hope that you had a good time. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. If you're not aware, I do go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. and every Friday at 7 p.m. And shout out to all the people that go to the lives, because they really help me decide to do this, you know. They're constantly encouraging me to try different videos. And when I mentioned this Wade's Toy Sack thing a while back, a lot of people kept bringing it up, you know, and just were trying to urge me to do it. So shout out to all the people in the Tuesday crew. Shout out to all the people that join the live streams, and shout out to all the channel members. I really do appreciate you guys. But thank you very much. Peace.